Oh, hello! Researcher Myra here. Before we get into the good stuff, I'd like to share some information with you to help you follow along. As noted in our epic intro, we will discuss two views of creativity. One, the freedom approach, and two, the structured approach. We will also examine two styles of thinking, intuitive thinking and systematic thinking. Let's begin!
First, let's talk about the freedom approach. According to this view, creativity is associated with imagination and few constraints, and creative ideas emerge from non-routine thinking and natural instincts. Brainstorming is a classic example of the freedom approach. In brainstorming, we jot down all the ideas and solutions that spontaneously come to mind. Sometimes we end up with a map that looks like this. Free writing is another example. Similar to brainstorming, you write continuously about whatever comes to mind. Free writing is informal and good grammar doesn't matter. In contrast, the structured approach views creativity as more organized and processed in a step-by-step manner. Creative ideas emerge from limiting an individual's focus to core elements. For example, making up a song using the tune or structure of a classic or popular song. Weird Al Yankovic is a master at this. Remember his parody of the song Blurred Lines called Word Crimes?
If you can't write in the proper way, if you don't know how to conjugate, maybe you flunked that class.
Another example is competitive cooking shows like Chopped, where contestants are provided with key ingredients they must use to make a dessert. Now, let's distinguish the two styles of thinking we examine in this study, intuitive thinking and systematic thinking. Intuitive thinkers process and analyze various thoughts simultaneously. They are more imaginative and tend to act on their natural instincts. You can think of them as people who think outside the box. On the other hand, systematic thinkers process and analyze thoughts orderly and follow regular methods. They rely on rules and guidelines using logic and rationality. You can think of them as people who think inside the box. Now that we've covered the two creative views and two cognitive styles, it's time to fill you in on the more fun details. My colleagues, researcher Tiffany and researcher Lourdes, will take it from here.
Thanks, Myra. Tiffany here. Now let's take a look at the hypotheses within the study. Hypothesis 1 explains that externally imposing structure enhances creativity. In other words, with no total freedom and deliberate restriction, creativity is enhanced in both systematic and intuitive cognitive thinkers. Hypothesis 2 explains that intuitive thinkers are more creative than systematic thinkers in general. But now I'd like to bring your attention back to Hypothesis 1. Wouldn't you think it's the other way around? A typical person would think that less structure would create more possibilities, thus providing more opportunity for creativity. Well, at least that's what we thought, as well as everyone else in our group. But nope, we were wrong about our intuition. Researchers in this study reasoned that the structured approach would restrict the scope of the problem, thus providing more focus on core elements. For example, this philosophy presentation. Dr. Kaiser assigned us this presentation to not only improve our public speaking skills, but to also apply concepts that we learned throughout this course. Without guidelines, we could basically produce any type of presentation we wanted. However, Dr. Kaiser provided us with a rubric that outlined the tasks that needed to be achieved. Thus, we were able to be more creative with the presentation with the goal in mind. Take it away, Lourdes.
Thanks, Tiffany. So, in order to test the effect of structure on creativity, participants were put to work in two different types of settings. Form follows function, and function follows form. In the form follows function setting, individuals were given a function and were asked to produce a form. For example, if I ask you to think of something that can help people carry their personal items, you may think of a purse, a backpack, or a wallet. Well, carry their personal items is the function I'm providing you with, and the purse, backpack, or wallet is the form you produce based on the function I gave you. Now, function follows form is the opposite. In this type of setting, participants were given a form and were asked to produce a function. So if I ask you to think of a possible use for a stick, you may say to make a bonfire, play fetch with your dog, or to hit a piñata. Here the stick is the form, and making a bonfire, playing fetch with your dog, or hitting the piñata is the function you produce. In the form follows function setting, participants were given a goal and they had to decide what to produce to achieve this goal. But in a function follows form setting, they were given something to work with and they had to figure out how they could use it. Now remember, the purpose of this study is to test the effect structure has on creativity. So in addition to what we've covered so far, what's the difference between both settings with regards to structure? Before we can answer this question, we have to go over some important distinctions between the two. In a function follows form setting, the focus is on the form. The components of the form are interdependent. So if the form changes, the function changes as well, and it can be limited. For example, consider a chair. A chair is a form and it has legs, a seat, and a back. These components are interdependent because if we take off the legs or the seat, the function of the chair changes and we can no longer sit on it. In a form follows function setting, the focus is on the function. The components of the function are independent. So if the function changes, the form does not change. So instead of sitting on a chair, you decide to stand on it to help you reach something. The function of the chair changes, but the form remains the same. The chair is still a chair. So because the function follows form setting causes a change that can limit the function, it is considered more structured. And since the form follows function setting does not cause a change or a limitation on the form, it is considered less structured. If you take anything at all from these last couple slides, let it be this, because it will help you understand the rest of the study. So basically remember, function follows form is more structured, while form follows function is less structured. If the hypotheses are true, then we expect to see the following. Structure will enhance creativity in both intuitive and systematic participants. Intuitive participants will be more creative in both structured and less structured tasks. And systematic participants could be just as creative as intuitive participants, but only in structured conditions.
Here we have the experimenter meeting with potential participants. Using the thinking and working styles measurement, researcher Myra is measuring their cognitive styles. Who's the systematic thinker and who's the intuitive one? Let's see how they did. Here we have our structured thinker. She likes long walks on the beach, logical thinking, and finding conventional solutions to problems. And here's our hippy-dippy intuitive thinker. Her dream is to skydive without a parachute, because who needs rules? Now that we have our measurements set up, we invited our participants to sit down and produce creative solutions to a given problem. They have both been given conditions of function follows form as well as form follows function. What will the outcome be? The decision of who produced the most creative solution will be left up to Judge Ashlee, and she does not go easy.
After the judges rank the creativity and originality of the participants' work, the results show as follows. Both systematic and intuitive participants indeed were more creative under structured conditions. Intuitive participants were ranked as more creative, and in structured conditions, systematic participants were just as creative as intuitive participants.
Thanks, Lourdes. Now it's time for us to examine the crucial experiment. From the hypotheses, we came up with the following predictions, which Lourdes already went over, and once the data was collected, we came up with the following observation, which basically agrees with both of the hypotheses. But we must ask, is this really a crucial experiment? Let's take a look at the variables. Here's variable 1, the structure approach. Let's symbolize the systematic thinker as this seemingly organized woman you see here, and let's say that the judges in this experiment gave her 3 creative stars. Now here we have the intuitive thinker, and the judges also gave her 3 creative stars. Now variable 2, the freedom approach. Our systematic thinker was given 1 creative star, and the intuitive thinker was given 3 creative stars. With hypothesis 1 including variable 1 and hypothesis 2 including variables 1 and 2, you can see there's some overlap. So going back to one of our questions, is this a crucial experiment? And the answer is no. Hypothesis 1 and 2 cannot be compared, and as seen by this Venn diagram, there is overlap between the two theories. We can't compare the hypotheses because we can't really point to one theory decisively over the other, thus ruining the point of a crucial experiment. The two theories have 2 different measurement setups. So by matching up all the data, both of the hypotheses have been confirmed. Thus, the 2 theories are not mutually exclusive. Also, no hypothesis is disconfirmed. Therefore, no theory is rejected or considered false. Take it away, Ashlee.
So it looks like the researchers' hypotheses were confirmed, but we have to take a step back and look at the auxiliary hypotheses. So for example, one of the main hypotheses was that intuitive people were more creative. However, you would have to assume that the measurement they used for cognitive style was even accurate. You would also have to assume that participants were even truthful while answering their survey. There was also the assumption that all participants were on their A game during the study, and no one's creativity was being affected by mood or exhaustion or any other factors other than their cognitive style or structured environment. We can also think about underdetermination. We can have all the data in the world, but how can we ever truly measure creativity? Creativity is completely subjective. There's no number or instrument that can be put to creativity to actually measure it. And the evidence that we do find is nothing more than other people's opinions. So how is that science or reality or fact? Who gets to make that decision?